Okay, this is section 5.5, inequalities involving absolute value. And it's kind of a review for the first part, but you got to know these two things. We talked about how absolute value rests with distance, right? Absolute value is distance, and so we're talking about values that are a certain part away, right? And when we talk this one, if we said if the absolute value of x is less than c, this is a constant, whatever that number is. So less than is a distance that's contained from a number to a number, is that right? Okay, so less than is actually an and. Then, okay, a negative c is less than x is less than c. So x is contained between the two c's. Does that make sense? Yeah. All right. And if it's greater than c, then it's outside. The distance is more than, so it's outside its way. So it's an or. This one's a harder one because students struggle with writing the equation. Because whatever x is less than a negative c, and that blows them away. How can it be less than when our symbol is greater than? Because our distance is less than those numbers. It's farther out, isn't it? It's farther away on the left side. Or it's greater than the right side. Now this part we understand. It's the left side that we usually struggle with. Okay? So if I take a for instance, all right, if I'm looking here, and you just have to use set Gilmer notation and graphing, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So let's take 23. All right, we'll just go for broke here. It says the absolute value of 3, and I'm going to change h to x plus 1 divided by 2 is less than 8. So if I'm looking at this, okay, the first thing I notice is this is a less than. Now if this is a less than or greater than, we use closed dots, but we're going to use open dots on this one, right? It's less than, so it is this case. X happens to be all of this. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm going to use an and C is 8, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what I have is a negative 8, negative C, is less than, okay, 3x plus 1 over 2 is less than a positive 8. You see that? Questions? Okay, so this is an and, right? So I separate it as a negative 8 is less than 3x plus 1 divided by 2, and 3x plus 1 divided by 2 is less than 8. I separate the two. Now this is going to take more than this board to do this.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, because I got 3 steps, right? What's the first thing I get rid of?
The 2.
The 2. I multiply both sides by 2. Do I switch the sign?
No.
No. Even though the 8 is negative, I do not switch the sign, do I? Okay, because I'm multiplying by 2. So I'm going to multiply by 2 there, and I'm going to multiply by 2 here. And the 2's cancel. So I have a negative 16 is less than 3x plus 1. Now what?
Subtract the 1.
I subtract the 1. And I get 3x is, okay? And that's not going to be a very nice number, is it? Because then I do what?
Divide.
Divide by 3. And do I switch the sign?
Yeah. No.
No. So I have x is greater than a negative 5 and 2/3. Is that correct? Not a very fun answer, is it?
No.
Okay. All right. Okay, let's do the same over here then. 3x plus 1 over 2 times 2 over 1 is less than 8 over 8 times 2, correct?
Yes.
And I get these cancel, so I have 3x plus 1 is less than 16. And now I'm going to subtract the 1. Am I going too fast, David? Okay. So you go 3x plus 1 minus 1 is less than 16 minus 1. So I have 3x is less than 15. Well, this works out much better, doesn't it? And if I divide by 3, I get 5. So x is less than 5. So I go from a negative 5 2/3 to 5. So my answer is, it's an and, right? I'm gonna graph it first. Let's go ahead and graph it, and I'm gonna go from a negative 6. Guys, if your graph is huge, like the first ones are huge, skip by 5s or skip by 2s. You know what I'm saying? So you can get on that. I can go ahead and pretty much, I think, I'll just leave it like that. I have an open circle. Oh, I should turn this one around, shouldn't I? It's x is greater than a negative 5 2/3. I hope she can see that on the video, right? What's wrong? Yep. You can. So a negative 5 2/3 is approximately right here, isn't it? Negative 5 2/3. And I have an open circle on that going right, and then I have an open circle on 5 going left. Is that true? Now, I'm going to go ahead and put them on. I'm going to slow down for a second. Ava, do you have a question?
Yeah. So how come there's two X's on the, oh wait, no, you had to switch it back.
Yeah, I had to switch around. I ran out of board here. So I had to move it to the right. I apologize for that.
It's okay.
All right. Yes, ma'am.
So if I, on like my assignment, I didn't switch them until like I got it into set builder, is that okay?
Yeah. I just, when I graph it, it's so much easier for me to graph it if I do this.
Okay.
Okay? So it looks like this. Open circle here, everything in between, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and so when I write set builder, since it's an and, I go 4x, so it's negative 5 2/3 is less than x is less than 5, right? Does that make sense? Okay, question. If this was x is less than this, and this was x is greater than this, in other words, if I had an open circle here going right and an open circle here going right, what would my answer be?
No solution.
It would be no solution. If it was an or, I'd be great. But since it's an and, it's no solution. Okay? All right. You want to see an or?
Yes.
Let's see an or. I'm going to jump up to number 16. Have the absolute value of 2x minus 3 is greater than or equal to 9. Okay? This is an or. How do I know? Because my distance is greater than 9. So I'm outside of 9 going opposite ways. Correct? All right. You understand that. That's what we mean by distance. So I got an or. And so I'm going to use this statement right here. All right? And this statement says this, which is x, 2x minus 3 is less than or equal to negative 9. Notice it's less than or equal to. I know that bothers you. But you want all the numbers that are left, right? So if the number line is, this is 0, then I'm clear out here, aren't I? And I'm going that way, aren't I? Okay. Or 2x minus 3 is greater than or equal to 9. So I'm on this side and I'm going that way. So once you write that as statement, everything else is a review, isn't it? It's getting this statement that's what we need to do. Then everything else is a review. Abby, do you have a question? It's kind of freaky, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know, my first question was always, why are you using a less than if it's a greater than? Well, you did on this one too. You know, actually they're both less than that, so I lied. It's between them, right? Okay. But this one is not. All right. So we're going to change this to plus and negative. We're going to go ahead and solve. 2x plus negative 3 minus negative 3 is less than or equal to a negative 9 minus negative 3. So I have 2x is less than or equal to a negative 6. Is everybody with me? And if I divide by 2, I get x is less than or equal to a negative 3. And x is on the left side, so I'm going to leave it like that. We're good? All right. And I do this plus a negative also, so I have 2x plus a negative 3 is minus negative 3 is greater than or equal to 9 minus negative 3. So I have 2x is greater than or equal to, I believe, 12. Is that right? Okay. And then I divide by 2. Remember, if you divide by a negative, which I'm not, you switch the sign. Okay, so let's go ahead and go from a negative 3 to 6 on the number line. I'll go a negative 4. Once again, if you want to skip, that's fine by me as long as I know what you're doing. But really from a -4 to 7 is not that bad. Now I'm going to have closed circles because these guys are, they're
Left
equal to.
side.
Yeah, so I'm going to have a closed circle on a -3 going left and a closed circle on 6 going right. So basically I don't really need to do that, right? Because it really, I can tell right away that this goes this way and this goes this way. Is that right? Now writing it in set building notation is 4x, and I just write the answer. One good thing about OR is oftentimes if they go opposite ways, I can just write the answer. So x is less than or equal to a -3, or x is greater than or equal to 6. I always like to put my left on the left side and my right on the right side, but that's not necessary. You can switch around. It doesn't make a lot of logical sense if you do, but still, I mean, it does make logical sense, but it's probably not fun to grade. Anybody tell me, and you don't have to put this, I'll reiterate, because I didn't ask you to do interval on this, but tell me what interval notation would be on this.
You could do -3.
In parentheses,
Infinity, comma, -3, bracket, union,
6.
neck
bracket,
bracket,
6, comma, infinity, parentheses.
Good, so we've learned that, right?
Yeah.
It's one less thing you're gonna have to learn. Alright, so there you go. And actually, interval notation on this is much easier to write than this. Okay. Not sure what those looks were for.
Our bus is already
or plus just
Alright, well, that means we gotta be quiet. They're probably warming up. Alright, so did you get your assignment?
Yep.
It's up there?
Is it still due tomorrow?
It is still due tomorrow.
Okay.
It's still due tomorrow. Okay, you don't wanna get too far behind. Alright, so, is there another question? I'll let you work. Good luck today.
Thank you. Here you get up.